They told me the previous night guard vanished into thin air, but I took the job anyway. $500 for a single night of work at Oak Ridge Cemetery was too much money to pass up. But now it is 3 a.m., and I finally understand why the last guard never came home. If you are listening to this tape, do not ever accept a late-night job from an online ad. Let me go back to how this nightmare started. When I arrived at midnight, the massive iron gates were already locked shut. An old man in a faded uniform met me at the side entrance. His hands were ice cold, and he did not shake mine. He just handed me a heavy brass key and a single sheet of wrinkled paper. His voice was a low, breathless whisper when he spoke. He told me to read the paper the exact second he left and to follow it blindly. Then he turned and vanished into the fog without looking back a single time. I locked myself inside the small, suffocating guard shack. I sat down at the wooden desk, flipped on the dim, buzzing light, and unfolded the paper. Written in hurried, frantic handwriting were 5 strict rules. Rule number 1, keep the window blinds completely closed at all times. Rule number 2, if you hear something tapping on the glass, do not look up. Rule number 3, at exactly 3 a.m., the old iron gate will creak open on its own. Do not go outside to close it. Rule number 4, if you look at the security monitors and see a figure standing over a grave, blink 3 times and look away. Rule number 5, if the old man returns before 6 a.m., do not open the door. It is not him. The first 2 hours passed in agonizing silence. The cemetery outside was completely pitch black. I tried to focus on my phone to pass the time, but the battery drained to 0 in a matter of minutes. The air inside the shack suddenly grew heavy and freezing cold. I checked the window blinds twice, making sure there wasn't a single gap for eyes to peer through. Then, at 2:30 a.m., the old black and white security monitor on the desk flickered to life. I didn't want to look, but my eyes were drawn to camera 4 near the back of the graveyard. Among the rows of gray tombstones, a tall, impossibly thin figure was standing perfectly still. It didn't have a face, just a dark, hollow void where its head should be. My breath hitched in my throat as I remembered rule number 4. I quickly closed my eyes, blinked 3 times, and forced myself to look down at the floorboards. When I finally peeked back at the screen, the figure was gone from camera 4. But my heart stopped when I saw it was now standing directly in front of camera 1, right outside my guard shack window. Suddenly, the old grandfather clock on the wall began to chime. 3 slow, heavy, deafening rings. It was exactly 3 a.m. Right on cue, a loud, metallic screech echoed through the quiet night. The main cemetery gate was swinging wide open, entirely on its own. I kept my eyes glued to the desk, forcing my breathing to stay steady. Then, I heard the sound I dreaded most, the wet, dragging crunch of heavy footsteps on the gravel path. Something had walked through that gate, and it was marching straight toward my door. The footsteps stopped, right on the wooden porch, just inches from where I sat.
My heart was pounding so hard, I was terrified it would give me away. Suddenly, 3 loud, sharp knocks rattled the glass window right above my head. Tap, tap. I squeezed my eyes shut, burying my face in my hands, repeating rule number 2 over and over in my mind. Do not look. Do not look. Then, a voice called out through the wood of the door. It sounded exactly like the old man, crying out in pure desperation. He said, "Please, open up. It's freezing out here. I forgot my keys." The voice sounded so real.
But then, I looked down at my watch. It was only 3:15 a.m. Rule number 5 clearly stated, if the old man returns before 6 a.m., do not open the door. I pulled my hand back and stepped away. When I didn't answer, the desperate crying stopped instantly. The silence that followed was completely suffocating. Then, a horrific, deep, distorted laugh echoed from beneath the door crack. The heavy footsteps turned and slowly dragged themselves back into the shadows of the tombs. I sat in that chair, frozen in terror, for 3 long hours, waiting for the nightmare to end. Finally, the dark sky began to turn a pale gray. At exactly 6 a.m., the bright sun broke over the horizon. A few minutes later, the side gate rattled, and the real old man walked up to the porch. He knocked normally, and I opened the door, dripping in cold sweat. I handed him the key and whispered, "I did it. I followed every single rule on your paper." The old man stopped dead in his tracks, looking at me with absolute confusion. He looked at my empty hands, then looked down at the bare desk. His face went completely pale, and his voice was a cold whisper. He said, "What paper are you talking about? I didn't leave you a paper. I don't even know how to write." My stomach dropped into a bottomless, icy pit. I looked down, but the paper was entirely gone, vanished into thin air. The old man frowned, turned around, and tried to open the door to walk out onto the gravel. But the handle wouldn't move. The lock was completely jammed. He rattled the brass hard, then looked out the window in absolute horror. He turned back to me, his lips trembling. He whispered, "That is impossible. Someone has bolted this door shut from the outside." In that final, terrifying second, the absolute truth hit me like a brick. The old man hadn't written those rules to keep me safe from the things outside. The things outside had written the rules to keep me trapped inside.